Boston, mid-June 2020. Looking at the old State House right in front of us. And what is eerie about this scene is absolutely zero tourists in Boston whatsoever. And if that is not bad enough, there's absolutely very few office workers on the streets either. The streets are actually deserted. So I'm gonna just take some video as we proceed up along here. 1 year ago, there'd be throngs of people trying to cross this intersection, trying to avoid duck boats, trolley tours, walking tours. State House dating back to 1713. Symbols of the British throne up on top there. The lion on the left, the unicorn on the right. Declaration of Independence read aloud from that balcony back in July 1776. The old courthouse rather. Scene of violent incidents when fugitive slaves were forcefully returned back to the South under what's known as the Slave Act 1850. Kittled on the outside of Starbucks. Just short of 228 gallons capacity. King's Chapel, burial ground on the left, oldest in Boston, 1630. John Winthrop is buried in there. King's Chapel itself. Parker Hotel, where JFK proposed to his beautiful wife. Maybe others as well, we don't know. We don't know what goes on in there at the best of times. Some buildings here boarded up. That's a result of some looting that took place about 2 weeks ago. Not too much looting in Boston in the bigger scheme of things. Granary burial ground, Franklin monument. All of here is buried. There's the tomb, John Hancock. Taking that down, keep the slave one, so we've got to get rid of that as well. Demolish that. I might come in and demolish it myself some night if I'm doing nothing else. We're going down now by Boston Common. Oldest common in North America, dating back to 1634. And apart from some transients, some people getting a bit of sun. Likewise, there's very few people on the common. Emerson College ahead of us. Fans of Jay Leno would realize that is where Jay Leno went to college. Theatre District down ahead of us. Building on the left there is the Freemason Hall. Grand Lodge, that too is boarded up. This little section here is called Piano Row. You can see Steinway piano there. Some other piano companies here. The old burial ground just down on the common. The fellow that painted the image of George Washington on the $1 bill, he's buried in here in a pauper's grave. He'd like to drink some alcohol, that fellow. Taking a right on Charles Street. Originally, Back Bay, or the Charles River, came right up to here. So, the land on the right, original land, Boston Public Garden on the left with the beautiful suspension bridge in the distance under the trees. That is reclaimed from the ocean. Public Gardens to the left, opened up in 1837. First botanical gardens in the United States. Reclaimed from the Back Bay with soil that they would have taken from Beacon Hill when they were leveling off the hills up in Beacon Hill. Transported down here. Beautiful botanical gardens. There you got Beacon Hill, the dome of the State House in the distance, which is cannot see it too well here. There we go, we missed that. That's okay. And we'll finish it off here with the iconic Cheers bar, where supposedly everybody knew your name in there. And we will just take a left here onto Arlington Street. In the Back Bay of Boston, reclaimed land, as I said. Now the land to the right was reclaimed later than this land to the left. 1856 and onwards, reclaimed to the right. All these old houses here would be built on wooden piles driven down into the backfill. It was the original big dig of Boston. It took 38 years to fill out the Back Bay. And the beautiful statue of George Washington in there on his horse in the public gardens. That too has to be taken down because he was a slave owner, but I'll have to get a machine to pull that down tonight. Alexander Hamilton, he's another bad guy. He set up the first central bank of America, of which there's been 3. Commonwealth Avenue, designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, and is part of what's known as the Emerald Necklace. He was the man that laid out Central Park, and he was the foremost and indeed first landscape architect in the United States. Memorial there to 13 unfortunate firefighters that lost their lives fighting a fire back in this corner in the year 1973. Some guy here in a fancy car to my right. Oh, that's the devil kid. driving, I would take that guy on a race, but I'm gonna have to let him go today. There's 10 statues in total here on Commonwealth Avenue. There we've got a Samuel Eliot Morison, famous historian, wrote a fantastic book on Christopher Columbus. Called Admiral of the Seas. He's a very good historian because his books are very, very readable. Three foremost ladies of Boston. We are crossing Newbury Street. Newbury Street, of course, is the high-end dining and retail street in Boston. And we're going to take a left here on Boylston Street, named after a doctor living here in Boston in 1721, who made a very good observation which led to a method of inoculation against smallpox. Now, Boylston Street is where the marathon ends. It was not run this year due to the dreaded virus, but it's usually run on Patriots' Day, which is celebrated on the third Monday in every April. That is to come as close as possible to the actual date of the American Revolution breaking out, which was April the 19th, 1775. So after 26 miles, the finish line is right up ahead of us. But 7 years plus ago, we had a bombing incident here, and this is where the second explosive device was placed. You have 4 monuments, little spires there to represent the 4 people that lost their lives, 3 that day and 1 sometime later. And we will have an identical little monument here on the left, which is the location of the first bomb. Yellow line across the street, finish line of the Boston Marathon. What a relief to finish that marathon today. Now I'm going to finish up here at Copley Square, Boston Public Library to our right. Beautiful new Old South Church to our left. And then the even more beautiful Trinity Church, dating back to 1877, designed by Richardson, an example of Richardsonian architecture, one of the most famous architects in the United States. And last but not least, the beautiful John Hancock Tower, which at 790 feet is the tallest building in Boston. So that's just a brief drive through Boston and the Back Bay. Today is June the 19th, 2020.